Today I will create my first ever pixel character. I have little to no experience here, so that might get interesting. I'll start off with a simple sketch to get a feeling for the character concept and which characteristics to watch out for before doing the pixel art. Then I'll go into the software, which will be Piskel, to do a first character design and maybe a simple character rotation at the end. Let's go! The character that I'm drawing is called Aber. He's the protagonist of a short fantasy story I'd like to tell on this channel. If you'd like to get to know him a little better, I linked a video at the top of the screen. By the way, I've sped up the video, so this won't take too long. The most characteristic features of Aber are probably the big round glasses, long nose and wavy hair. In terms of clothing, he's wearing a neat waistcoat over a white shirt with puffy sleeves. As you can see, he's a rather tall guy, so it will be interesting how this translates to a classic top-down RPG look similar to Zelda or the early Final Fantasy games. I'd like to keep it simple at the start, so these games are probably a good reference to get going. In order to get a bit closer to the pixel version, I shrunk Aber down and created a smaller, chunky version, who is already a lot closer to what I envisioned for the pixel art, with a big emphasis on the bespectacled face with its big nose. You can already see that there won't be much room for detail when it comes to clothing, especially with a top-down perspective in mind. Probably just a few pixels for the legs and the feet. Also, I'm curious to see how his hair will translate into pixels. Anyway, I guess that's a good starting point. Just a quick color study and we're good to go. So, just a quick side note before we continue in Piskel, I wanted to show you something. I dug it up in preparation for this video and it's Pokemon Blue, which is the only true Pokemon game, to be honest. It's my first Game Boy game. It's the reason I bought my Game Boy in the first place. And I believe it's just an amazing example of how a few pixels can create this entire world and tell an amazing story and create this amazing gaming experience. So yeah, that's just something I wanted to share with you. Let's continue in Pixel. So, this is Piskel. It is a free online sprite editor, and if you'd like to try it out yourself, there's a link in the description below. As we were just talking about Pokemon, I thought I could start with a player sprite from the game to use as a reference for Aber. Again, I sped up the video a bit, because this won't look nearly as smooth if played in real time. What is interesting about these Game Boy sprites is that they only use 3 colors, but I won't hold myself to that standard. After drawing the reference, I began painting Aber on top. I drew the glasses first, since they define how big the overall face would be. Also, I needed enough room for Aber's big nose. Overall, his face is supposed to be rather long, so I added a pointed chin and a dark outline to provide some contrast. The hair was in fact difficult to translate into pixels, so I opted for a flame-like look instead of the 3 waves from the sketch. It did look a bit thin at first, but the outline brought it all together. As anticipated, there was not much to be done for the clothes, despite some simple color blocking. But it's fascinating to see how much you can achieve with only a few pixels at hand. To further define the character, I added a few highlights and shadows. I don't know if it's a good idea to include directional lighting, but for now it feels right. To get a better feel for the character, I continued with a side view. Again, I started with the glasses and nose and continued from there on. I had no clear idea how deep the face needed to be, so I started by lining up the important elements such as the jawline and the hands first. From there it was try and error, pushing pixel back and forth until it looked right. All the time I felt like something was off, but I couldn't put my finger on it, so I kept on drawing until all the important elements were there. Eventually, I realized that the face was way too narrow, and after changing that, most other elements fell into place. I finished things up with some color adjustments to create more depth, and I added a golden button as a final touch. The rotation of the character turned out to be rather simple. I only did a simple 4-step rotation, and with the front and side view ready to go, the cycle was as good as done. For the back perspective, I simply copied and mirrored the front view and painted out the face. And with again only a few tweaks here and there, I ended up with a simple character rotation. Obviously, some changes had to be made to the original concept, but all the important features are there and work pretty well together in translating this character from sketch to pixel. Well, this was a fun little exercise. To be honest, I'm rather pleased with the results. This turned out way better than I thought it would. And this pixel art thing is something I will explore in future videos. So if you're interested in that, yeah, feel free to tag along. Until then, keep your whimsy, stay creative. Bye.